So, hello everyone. This is the next lecture, which is about the class relationships, a deep dive. This is the YouTube video you can watch, and this is the links to the GitHub codes. So, let's start with the different kind of relationships that we have between classes in object-oriented programming. So, first of all, starting with the very basic relationship, which is inheritance. So, inheritance basically represent a is a relationship. So, there is a parent class and there is a subclass. So, what happens is the subclass basically inherits the properties and behaviors from its parent class. For example, we have a vehicle and there is a specialization of a vehicle. A vehicle can be a car or a bus. So the parent class would be the vehicle and the subclass would be the car or a bus, which will be formed by extending the vehicle class. So extension is basically inheritance in Java. So think of it like a family tree. Just as a dog is an animal, a subclass also extends the functionality of its superclass. So here we have is class animal, which is the parent class. It has its own function, which is eat, and there is a subclass. So class dog extends animal. So this is the extends keyword we use to show that a particular class A inherits the class B. So we write class dog extends animal, which means class dog inherits animal class. So it has its own function, which is bark. Now dog will also inherit the functions from the animal class and will also define its own unique functions. So here we can see this is the class main class. We are showing we have created a dog object. If we call dog.eat, it is the inherited behavior because this function was present in the animal class. And the bark is the unique function to the dog class itself. So yeah, this is the symbol through which we show inheritance. It is a triangle, hollow triangle. So dog basically inherits from animal. So the triangle is towards the class from which the other class inherits. So animal is the parent class. Dog is the extends. Dog basically extends animals and adds its own bark method. The dog class inherits behavior from animal by adding its own unique actions. Okay, so inheritance was quite simple. Now let's talk about side by side, which is association. So association is kind of a general relationship. It is basically a single line between two classes. So it is a relationship where one class basically knows about the other class or uses that particular class. It is like a friendship where two entities are aware about each other but they exist independently. Yeah, this is important that these two classes can exist independently. For example, a person can have a car. So this is a class car. This is the complete class card and here we have the class person. Now as you can see, the class person has an attribute of car. So basically person is referencing the car, right? Whereas car can exist independently without the person as well. So basically person has a car. So this car object is being used in the constructor of the person class. Okay, so this is the class person. As we can see here in the main function, we have created a car object. Then we have a person object. In person object, we are referencing this car object. So if we now call this method person.go for drive, it would first print out this line, which will be Alice is going for a drive, and then it will call out this car.drive function and it will print out driving a Tesla Model 3. Okay. So as in this diagram also we can see this is the class person and this is a class car. So person has a car. This is a simple arrow. Okay. So person has a reference to the car representing an association. Both are independent entities. So car doesn't solely rely on person for its existence. Now aggregation. Aggregation is also a special kind of association. Okay. So aggregation is a specialized form of association that represents or has a relationship where the parts can exist independently of the whole but they are grouped together by a container. For example, we have a particular container. For here only we have this example that the players are forming a team. So team is formed by the players. So team and its player, a team has players, yet the players can exist even if the team is disbanded. This is quite obvious, right? So this is basically an aggregation relationship. So class player, and this we have class team. So these are multiple players in this team, right? So list of players, we have created an array list. So a team has players. So even after the team is disbanded, the players would always exist, right? So this is the class team. It has its own function like add player and show team. So this is the demo. We have created a team first. Once we create a team, we add some players to that team. So the players are added into this list, and then we are going to print out those team details using a loop because this is a list of players. So this is the diagram. As we can see, for aggregation, aggregation is a hollow diamond. It shows a relationship, a special kind of association where we have kind of list of some particular entities. Okay, so these are the class diagrams of these two. We have one-to-many relationship over here. So team aggregates player objects. Player exist independently of the team. They can join or leave different teams. This indicates that while the team holds and manages the player instances, the players are not solely dependent on the team for their existence. Yes. So now what is the difference between association and aggregation? So association is a general relationship with no ownership implied. Objects simply interact or use each other, like the person simply interacted and used the car. Aggregation represents a hazard relationship where the object, the whole, contains or references the other objects, the parts, but the parts can exist independently of the whole. Now talking about composition. Composition is a stronger kind of bond, like they can't live without one another kind of thing. So composition is a stronger form of aggregation with full ownership. If the whole is destroyed, the parts cannot exist independently. Think of a house and its rooms. Without the house, the rooms cease to exist. Correct? If the house is destroyed, the rooms would also be destroyed, right? So this is the classroom. Then we have a class house. Now we can see in the code itself, the rooms would only be instantiated within the house. So if house is created, only then rooms are created, because when house is deleted, the rooms will also be deleted. So rooms are created and owned by the house. So in the house constructor, we can see we are creating a living room and a kitchen. So in this demo also we can see that this is public static void main. We created a new house object and then we called the show house functions. So this show house function, once created, the two rooms will also be created over here. So basically here for composition, the main aspect is that it is a special kind of aggregation, and if the whole is destroyed, the parts cannot exist on their own. Okay. So this is what is shown over here. It is a filled diamond. It is showing composition. Okay, so room cannot exist without house. So house creates and controls the life cycle of the room objects. The room objects do not exist outside the context of the house. The composition relationship indicates that the house is composed of room objects, meaning the rooms are created and owned by the house and do not exist independently. Okay, next is dependency. So dependency represents a temporary relationship where one class uses another class, typically via method parameters or local variables. It is just using a particular function or a parameters of another class for a while. For example, we have a printer class, so we have to print this document. So we will borrow this printer functionality for a while. This is kind of dependency injection. We are going to basically put the printer class objects in the constructor. So in this print document function, we are going to pass a parameter of the printer class, and then we are going to use its functionality to print the document. So we created a document, we created a printer, and using this printer reference, we are going to print the document. So this is the document dependency injection. We can also have multiple classes over here in the same function. So this is the document, right? So this is the document class, this is a printer class. So document basically uses the printer. Document doesn't store a printer, it just uses it when it is needed. So relationship is transient and will only exist in the method call. Exactly. Only if the method is called, this method is called, only then this relationship would exist, else this relationship won't exist, because we can see that in rest of the code we do not have any reference to the printer class in the document class itself. Okay, so what are the key differences between association and dependency? So yeah, the objects are passed often via constructors or setters and stored as persistence field. For example, in the association for the person in the car example we just saw, we had that car variable declared inside the um, attributes of the person class, whereas in dependency we just passed that in the method call, right? So objects are passed in the method parameters and are only used within that method scope. This creates a short-term temporary relationship where the object is used just for the duration of the method call and it isn't stored for later use. So for example, a document only receives the printer to print the content and doesn't keep a reference, and in association person definitely store a reference to the car and can use it afterwards also. See here, we have the printer in the method call only, and for the association we can see we have the car object, car reference here in the person class. Okay, so next is basically how do classes implement the interface. That particular terminology is known as realization. It is basically classes implementing an interface. So we have an interface payment, so different classes are going to implement this interface. So whenever we implement an interface, we basically override that method's implementation. So credit card payment implements payment, right? For inheritance we had the keyword extends, for interface we have the keyword implements. So credit card payment will implement the payment. We are going to override this method and give it our own method, our own implementation. Similarly for cash payment we can override this method and the give it give it the give it according to our own. Like for cash, the logic will be for the cash payment class, and here in the credit card payment when we override this pay method, the implementation would be as per the credit card payment. So what I'm trying to say is basically the implementation of these two methods would can differ in both the classes. Okay, that is why we are overriding from interface. All the classes which which implements an interface can have different implementations of the particular method. We can override that. So similarly we created a payment 1 and a payment 2. One is credit card payment, another is cash payment. So payment 1 dot pay and payment 2 dot pay. So paid using credit card and paid using cash. So yeah, this is how we represent a realization. It is basically implementing an interface. So this is the payment interface. We have a triangle and we have a dotted line. So payment is an interface that will declare the pay method, and credit card payment and cash payment will implement this interface and provide their own versions of the pay method, right? So bringing it all together, simplified library management system. Basically we have learned different kind of class relationships. In this diagram we will be able to see different kind of relationships. For example, we have this interface. This is readable interface. So the book class is going to implement this readable interface. So for implementing this interface, it should have the implementation of the read method, as we can see over here, right? Now For this, it book is written by this author. So this is simple association. So author, the book has the reference to the author. Now reader basically reads the book and uses the book. It does not have any specific dependency. It is just going to uh, use it. So it is a dependency relationship. Next is this is the composition. So if library exists, only then the books exist. If library goes away, like it is burnt or something, so books also won't exist because library contains a list of books. Ebook is basically a type of a book. So ebook and a book and reading club and readers, this is basically aggregation, right? So I think, yeah. So in the readable interface, it defines a contract with the read method. So yeah, this was the book class implement this interface. So ensuring that all books provide a reading behavior. Was the interface book and ebook. So book has attributes and an associated author. So ebook is going to extend the book class. It is going to inherit. It is a special kind of book class. Association is the book and the author. As I told you, it has the reference. This is composition. Composition is the library and the book. The fill diamond from library to the book. Library is composed of books means the library strongly owns its books. Hmm. Dependency is the reader and the book. The dashed arrow from the reader to the book shows the dependency relationship, and reader to the reading club shows the aggregation relationships. The open diamond reading club groups readers together, but readers can exist independently of the club as well. Yeah, so this was the complete class relationship. We can definitely practice one problem. Yeah, thanks.